There's something in your energy right now that I don't think you fully see yet. A kind of radiance that's been building quietly, not the loud, performative kind that announces itself, but the deeper kind. The kind that comes from someone who has been through enough to know their own worth and has finally stopped apologizing for it. You've been walking differently lately, thinking differently. There's a quality of settledness around you that wasn't there 6 months ago, and the people in the world are beginning to notice, including someone very specific. And before I say anything else, I want to be clear this isn't about money, not at its core. Money is just the surface texture of what's actually arriving. What's arriving is a caliber of person, a quality of connection, someone who moves through the world in an expansive way, who has built something, who understands value in the deepest sense of that word, and who is about to look across whatever distance exists between you right now and decide that you are exactly what they've been looking for. Sit with that. Let that actually land. I keep getting this image, and it's so specific, I want to describe it carefully. A harbor, deep water, the kind of still, dark water that looks almost black from a distance but is perfectly clear when you're close enough to look down into it. And at the edge of this harbor, a vessel not a small thing, something built to go far, built to carry weight without being undone by weather, and it's turning slowly, deliberately, toward you. That's the energy approaching you right now. Something that has traveled, something that has substance, something that doesn't arrive carelessly because it never does anything carelessly. And it is orienting itself in your direction with a kind of quiet intention that you are going to feel before you can explain it, a shift in atmospheric pressure, a warmth at the edge of your awareness, a sense that something significant has just entered your orbit even before the first word is spoken. Let me tell you about this person, because their energy is present in this reading in a way I can't ignore. They are not flashy. That's the first thing. Whatever wealth surrounds them, and there is real abundance here, real material success, the kind that creates a particular ease in how a person carries themselves. It doesn't wear it loudly. They've moved past the stage of needing to announce what they have. There's a quiet confidence in how they occupy a room, a kind of gravitational certainty, like someone who knows exactly where they stand and therefore has nothing to prove to anyone. But underneath that composure, and this is what I find genuinely moving about their energy, there is a searching quality, something that has not been satisfied despite everything that looks from the outside like a complete life. Something that recognizes with a kind of sophisticated ache that success without resonance is just a very beautiful, very empty room. And then there is you. You probably don't think of yourself as someone who could captivate a person like this. I want to name that directly because I can feel the slight flinch, the almost imperceptible retreat that happens when someone tells you that you're extraordinary. Like you've learned to be gracious about compliments while holding them at arm's length, receiving praise but not letting it change the story you tell yourself in private. Virgo, the story you tell yourself in private is the thing I most want to address today, because the gap between who you actually are and who you believe yourself to be in your most honest, unwitnessed moments, that gap is the only thing that has ever held you back from the level of life you're meant to inhabit. Not your circumstances, not your timing, not the people who came before and couldn't see you clearly. That story, that quiet, deeply embedded belief that people like you don't get to have things that feel this good, this right, this naturally abundant. That belief is losing its grip. And the arrival of this person is going to be one of the most powerful pieces of evidence against it you've ever encountered. I want to talk about the conversation that's coming because the energy around it is fascinating. It begins simply, naturally, in a context that feels almost too ordinary for something this significant, and that's exactly how the most life altering encounters tend to arrive, dressed in the clothes of coincidence, wearing the expression of something casual, a shared space, a mutual connection, an introduction that happens almost sideways, almost as an aside, before anyone fully registers what's actually occurring. But within that conversation, and this is the part I keep returning to, there is a moment, a specific pivot point, where what starts as pleasantry becomes something real, and you say something genuinely off the cuff, probably something you've said before without thinking of it as remarkable, and they pause. That pause, that is the moment, because what you'll have just demonstrated without trying to demonstrate anything is the quality of your mind, the precision of your thinking, the way you see things that other people walk past. And for someone who spends most of their time in rooms full of people performing intelligence rather than possessing it, encountering the real thing is not a small event. You won't even realize the impression you've made until later, until their response carries a warmth that wasn't there at the beginning of the conversation, and you notice that they're not looking for the exit anymore. Something I need to say about what you carry, Virgo, because this reading isn't just about who's coming, it's about what in you called them forward. You have an extraordinary relationship with the invisible, with the things that matter but can't be put on a spreadsheet, with quality not as a preference but as a way of seeing. You can walk into a room and register within seconds what is real and what is performance, what is built and what is borrowed, what is alive and what is hollow. This capacity, which you probably consider simply the way everyone thinks, because it's so natural to you, is genuinely rare. Most people go their whole lives never developing this level of discernment. This person has it too, in their domain, in their world, in the way they've built what they've built. They operate from that same capacity for recognizing what is real. And they have spent enough time surrounded by the artificial version of things, the curated, the strategized, the positioned, that the authentic is not just attractive to them, it's magnetic. You, Virgo, in your most unguarded moments, your most honest, least performed self, are one of the most genuinely authentic people in any room you enter. And they are going to feel that like a compass needle feeling north. I want to address the financial dimension of this more directly because the energy here is layered and specific. There is an offer coming or an opportunity, something that carries with it not just financial possibility, but an expansion of how your life operates, the scale of it, the reach of it, the quality of the daily texture of it. Whether this arrives through a direct proposition from this person or through a door they open by virtue of who they know and what world they move in, the result is the same. A threshold appears in front of you that leads somewhere your life has never gone before. And this is where I want to be honest with you about the thing I feel sitting in your energy like a stone in still water. You are going to be tempted to hesitate, not because you don't want it, because you do in a way that almost frightens you, because Wanting something this much feels like vulnerability, and vulnerability has historically been the place where things have gone wrong for you. So the hesitation won't be logical, it will be old. It will arrive wearing the costume of practicality times. This seems too good. What's the catch? I should think about this more. Maybe I'm not ready times. But underneath the costume is just fear. The old fear. The one that says extraordinary things aren't for people like you. When that hesitation comes, I want you to remember this moment. Remember that you saw it approaching. Remember that you knew before it arrived that it was old rather than wise. And say yes. The ripple effects of this connection extend further than you can currently see. That's the nature of meeting someone who moves at a different altitude. The view from where they stand reveals possibilities that aren't visible from where you've been standing. And when they turn towards you, when they begin to include you in their line of sight, their conversations, their world, your own horizon expands. Not because they give it to you, because proximity to a different way of operating resets your sense of what's possible for your own life. There are people in their world, people you haven't met yet, people whose names you don't know, who will matter to your story, a connection made through this connection, a door found by walking through the first door, an idea sparked by a conversation you couldn't have had without this encounter shifting the entire geography of your social and professional world. This is how abundance actually moves, Virgo, not in single dramatic gestures, in cascades, in one real thing opening into another real thing, and the whole architecture of a life reconfiguring quietly and completely over the course of a single season. That season has begun. I want to pause here because something just arrived in this reading that feels important to name. There's an emotional current running beneath all of this, beneath the wealth, the opportunity, the expansion, that is actually the most significant thing in this entire reading. And it's this: you are about to be genuinely, attentively, thoroughly seen by someone with no agenda in the seeing. That sounds simple. It is not simple. To be looked at clearly, not as a resource, not as a reflection of someone's own needs, not as a projection of what someone wants you to be, but as exactly who you are, with interest and appreciation for the specific, unrepeatable person that is you, that is one of the rarest experiences a human being can have. And you are going to have it. And it's going to quietly break something open in you, not painfully, the way a window breaks open, and suddenly there is air and light, and the room you've been sitting in for years is revealed to be infinitely less permanent than you believed. Does this resonate somewhere specific for you? I genuinely love to know in the comments if this is speaking to something you've already begun to feel arriving. Let me tell you about the version of you that emerges from this chapter. She is not dramatically different from who you are right now. She's just more willing to occupy her own space fully. More comfortable with the idea that abundance and depth are not mutually exclusive, that you don't have to choose between a life that is rich and a life that is meaningful. More able to receive what she has always been so extraordinary at giving. Because here's the quiet truth about Virgo at her finest: you know how to love people into their best selves. You know how to see what someone is capable of before they see it themselves, and hold that vision for them with a kind of patient, steady faith. You've done this for others your whole life. Someone is about to do it for you. Someone who has the resources, the vision, and the genuine desire to point at your potential and say times, why are you keeping this small? Why are you making yourself fit into a space this size when everything about you is built for something larger? And you won't have an answer because for once there won't be one. The water in that harbor I saw at the beginning of this reading, I keep returning to it, to how still it looked and how deep. And I think what I was seeing was this: the depth has always been there, your depth, the sheer breadth of what you are capable of feeling, creating, building, contributing it has always been there, contained and present and patient, waiting not for permission from the outside world, but for the internal conditions to align, for the pattern to break, for the belief to shift, for the door to appear at exactly the right moment, with exactly the right person standing on the other side of it. All of those things have now occurred. The water is still because it is ready, not passive ready. There is an enormous difference. Virgo, as this reading closes, and I want to close it gently because what's arriving deserves a gentle arrival, I want to say one last thing. You have spent a long time being careful, careful with your trust, careful with your hope, careful with how much of yourself you allow to want things. And that carefulness has kept you safe. It has also kept you smaller than you are. The person approaching you is not a threat to your carefulness. They are an invitation to transcend it, to discover that your discernment, which is extraordinary, is fully capable of recognizing the real thing when it arrives, and that the real thing, recognized clearly, deserves your whole yes, not your qualified yes, not your provisional yes, not the yes you offer while privately preparing for disappointment, your whole unhesitating, completely present yes. That's what this moment is asking for. And you finally, fully, completely, you are ready to give it. Something in this reading found you today for a reason. If it touched a part of your story you've been holding quietly, a hope, a hesitation, a feeling that something is shifting, share it below. What you leave in the comments has a way of reaching exactly the person who needed to hear it.